Alrighty, Monday, June 17th, taking a look at ES for a quick session recap here. Now, coming into the session, the main level of interest that we wanted to keep an eye on was that reaction versus the 55.10 upside resistance area, that upside level of interest. We were looking at this near-term structure, which, while it does resemble a range, did have the characteristics of a downtrend as well, highlighting that near-term structure, those near-term pivot points, lower highs and lower lows. So Friday afternoon, or the more like the duration of Friday session, you get the bounce there into this resistance point, price test, that near-term area of resistance, 55.10 in the overnight pre-market session. This morning, we open up near that near-term volume point of control. Let me zoom in here and take a look at how price actually develops off the open. These 15-minute time frame candles can really give you a lot of clues. That's why I focus so much on the 15 and 30-minute charts. You want to be aligning yourself with those higher time frame structural developments, which is what we saw in ES. So that sets up the move at the near-term range volume point of control for the test of 55.10 up through 55.10. Once price actually breaks that area, that 55.10 area, if buyers can show acceptance above that 55.10, where's it going to go? Into that previous all-time high right through here, 55.20. Now, no sellers whatsoever at 55.20, and price goes back into that discovery mode, marking a high up into 55.61, triggering the daily time frame breakout, the near-term range breakout. Take a look at your daily chart here, right? Up and through last week's volume point of control, which tells us that this was most likely reaccumulation rather than distribution. Now we have fresh all-time highs. So buyers remain in control of this tape. No real surprise there considering the trend since late October of last year, right? So now what we want to be looking for tomorrow is how price trades versus today's range. Now, as always, following that trend day, following that big expansion day, probability does favor an inside day, so I'll primarily be looking at how price trades versus today's high as the main reference point for tomorrow's session, looking for what will most likely be an inside day. Now, that said, as always with the expectations, like today is a prime example, you want to have kind of a handful of different scenarios of how price can play out. Today, we're expecting a slower session, tends to be the norm, with a Monday holiday week, no data, things like that. But market, as always, is going to do what it wants. And as of right now, we've got the daily breakout with that price discovery continuation. So that's ES, going to be primarily focused on how price develops, how that structure builds out versus today's high, 55.61. As of right now, the structure does show a near-term range breakout, okay? And the breakout point is down into 55.20. Now let's jump over to NQ. NQ, of course, remains the stronger of the two. We did have, from a structural standpoint, similar setup, right? 2 days of range trading here on NQ, but NQ triggering that all-time high, triggering that potential breakout in the overnight, in the pre-market session. And so what we want to see there and what we're looking at for today is how price trades versus that breakout point, 19,950. Right? And so what do we have coming into the open? That first 15-minute bar. How's that first 15-minute bar close up? Take a look at it. Got a hammer there right at the breakout point. So price essentially does a sweep of the overnight low, right? Grabs whatever liquidity is under there, probably traps a bunch of shorts that are trying to nail the top here, and then bounces right back up. So it's like a Wyckoff spring of that pre-market action, of that overnight action. 19,950 holds as support, and you get that trend day move up into fresh all-time highs, up through some of our upside reference points to mark a high at 271.25. So a similar approach for tomorrow. Want to see how price responds versus today's session high. Let's take a look at, no real surprise here to see the volume point of control of today's session up in this 235 area. So today's high as well as today's volume point of control will be some key reference points for tomorrow's session. As always, like I mentioned earlier, anytime you have this big trend day move, expectation should be for a bit of contraction, and that usually manifests as an inside day. So looking for that inside day tomorrow. Remember, the market is closed on Wednesday. So even though we did have lower volume for today's session, we still got that trend day move, right? Take a look at, I just lost my mouse. 1 second. Got the backup now. There we go. So with the contract roll, things like that, you're going to see, like I had mentioned this morning, you're going to see a little bit of funkier action, right? We do have open interest in the June contract that needs to be rolled over to the September expiring contract in both ES and NQ. So you may see some anomalies within volume. Like I said this morning, not reading too much into that. Just taking it day by day this week and following the structure. Structure continues to show that buyers are in control. So that's what we're working with. So hope everyone had a good session. Hope you guys nailed a couple of A+ opportunities. Personally, I was done before this trend day even materialized. Posted that in the chat. I'll post my executions after the bell here. But remember, you don't need to feel FOMO. You don't even need to nail any of this to hit your goals. Just need to get your piece, move on with your day. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to shoot me a DM. Otherwise, I'll see you tomorrow morning for the pre-market prep. Have a good afternoon.